up, everyone? Hope we're all doing well. We need to talk about Henry Cejudo's career. Because just a few days ago, Henry Cejudo took on Song Yadong at UFC Seattle, and it's safe to say there's been a lot of controversy. Because in this fight, Song Yadong was getting the better of Henry Cejudo. In my opinion, it felt like Song Yadong was always one step ahead of Henry Cejudo. Henry had some success here and there with leg kicks, which started to get checked, and then he started to land a lot of straight shots. But towards the end of the third round, he got poked in the eye by Song Yadong. And you know how in fights, when the ref sees an eye poke and they give him a timeout, you get 5 minutes. Well, I've never seen a fighter actually use those 5 minutes. Henry Cejudo is the only fighter smart enough to use those 5 minutes. However, his eye might have actually been fucked, because Henry took these 5 minutes to sit out and try and let his eye recover. And once the 5 minutes was up, they resumed with the third round, which had like, what, a minute left. And for the remainder of that third round, Henry Cejudo was on the back foot and pretty much just running away from Song Yadong. And once he went to his corner, he was saying to his coaches that he can't see. And to no surprise, this led to the fight being stopped, where he started the fourth round and then ended it and said we're going to the judges' scorecard. So it's Song Yadong won 29-28 on all judges' scorecards. And now because of that, you got plenty of people claiming that Henry Cejudo is a quitter because the fight wasn't going his way. And even if it went into fourth and fifth, it looked like Song Yadong was only getting better and Henry Cejudo was maybe starting to slow down and again wasn't really getting much off, and people are suggesting that Henry Cejudo quit. And Henry Cejudo's came out on his social media and showed the damage from this eye poke. Now in my honest opinion, I don't feel like Henry Cejudo quit, and at the end of the day, if you agree with me or disagree with me, well, neither of us actually know. The only person who actually knows is Henry Cejudo, because he's the one who got eye poked. But my whole video isn't going to be just about this one topic. I wanted to talk about this maybe like a couple of weeks ago, and I just thought, oh, I'll wait for his fight after Song Yadong and see how we go from there. But considering there's some controversy there, I just wanted to address it at the start. No, the whole thing that I wanted to talk about, has Henry Cejudo ruined his legacy? And I suppose this controversy's played into it, because the controversy would have never have been there if he had never had retired back in 2020. Because back in 2020, Henry Cejudo had the world at his feet, as he was the bantamweight champion, you know, hadn't lost in God knows how long. I think his last loss was against Joseph Benavidez, which was donkeys ago. Had wins over Demetrius Johnson, TJ Dillashaw, Marlon Moraes, and now Dominic Cruz. And what did he do? He retired at 33 years of age. And when he retired, he had a great little legacy right there. Some nice credentials of being a double champ in UFC, winning the title at the flyweight division and in the bantamweight division. Not only that, obviously to do with his wrestling credentials, winning the gold medal in the Olympics. It looked amazing for Henry Cejudo on paper, but then he kind of ruined it all when he came back 3 years later to take on Aljamain Sterling for the bantamweight title. And when he came back, he had a very competitive fight against Aljamain Sterling, but ultimately he did lose this fight. A year later, he goes on to fight Merab Dvalishvili in 2024, and he loses that fight as well. So when he's came back out of retirement, he loses 2 fights. And reminder that when this guy had retired, he only retired with 2 losses, a loss to Joseph Benavidez and Demetrius Johnson. And when he came back, he picked up another 2 losses. And the losses haven't stopped there, because he's just lost to Song Yadong. So since coming back from his retirement, he is 0-3. He hasn't tasted victory since 2020, half a decade ago. And by the way, none of this means that Henry Cejudo is a bad fighter. A bad fighter wouldn't become a champion in the flyweight division, wouldn't have a win over Demetrius Johnson, even though I believe that Demetrius Johnson won that rematch. Doesn't matter, he still had a very close and competitive fight against DJ in that rematch. A bad fighter wouldn't have beat TJ Dillashaw, wouldn't have came up to the bantamweight and won the championship there as well. It's just since he's came back, he's done nothing but stain his legacy. Because remember, when Henry Cejudo retired, a lot of people were talking online about him possibly being one of the most credentialed fighters of all time and one of the best to even do it. And now that he's came back, I never hear conversations about that any longer. And not only that, but I'm pretty sure his plan when he came back was to beat Aljamain Sterling and then move up to the featherweight division to take on Volkanovski. And while it's quite safe to say he's very far away from that plan. And at 38 years of age, not having a bantamweight title and having no losses since coming back from retirement, is it time to retire again? Like, is it genuinely worth it him fighting anymore? I don't see what the reason would be other than him just wanting to compete, which, if that was the case, then why would you have retired 5 years ago in your prime? It makes no sense. Like, so I don't think it's that. If it's money, well, is it going to be a big money fight for the rematch between you and Song Yadong? You know, Henry, when he came back, had his eyes set on all these big fights like Sean O'Malley, Volkanovski, Aljamain, and he's definitely not getting that Aljo fight. I think that's quite safe to say, and I can't see him making the move to the featherweight division, and even if he does, he would have to take on someone who's probably close to top 10 rather than like top 5 or even the champion, like he would probably expect himself to be in that position. So should he carry on? I don't really think so. I don't think he's got any more to give to the UFC and to the sport of MMA. I don't think he looked great against Song Yadong. He didn't look awful, but I just don't think he's capable of mixing it in there against the elite of the bantamweight division, I'll be completely honest. And it's such a shame because now he's 16-5 and no one really takes him super seriously compared to when he was in his prime. You know, he was doing the whole the triple C stuff where he's cringe, and you know, he had a lot of things going for him back in 2020, and then he came back from retirement. And if he just decided to stay retired, or not even to have retired at all, things could have been completely different. But what do you guys think about Henry Cejudo's career? Do you think he should have retired in 2020, or do you think he shouldn't have? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.